crazy.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Praying all is well. Welcome to another Feminine Woman podcast. My name is Sister Tamara, and my co host name is Sister Alexia. And Sister Heckova Mecca. And tonight's topic is, can you love someone that doesn't take accountability? Let's get into it, y'all. Can you love someone that doesn't take accountability, Sister Alexia?
No, ma'am. Not at all. Because somebody that's not willing to take accountability is going to always
Mhm,
point the finger at everyone else. They're not going to be
mhm,
looking in the mirror to see what
mhm.
they contribute to whatever it might be. So if you're not willing to face yourself and do that inner work, we don't have anything to talk about until you do.
Yes, ma'am. Sister Mecca, what would you say?
I would say no for somebody who knows who they are and loves who they are. But
Mm,
somebody who doesn't know who they are and love who they are
mm-hmm,
could, quote unquote, love somebody who does not take accountability. Because it reminds me of um the supreme wisdom. It says, why does he love the
mm,
devil? Because the devil gives him nothing.
mm-hmm.
And so it's like when somebody doesn't take accountability, that is almost like giving them nothing, because if they don't take accountability, then more than likely they don't keep their word. They
Right,
don't do what they say they gonna do. They don't treat you right. It's a plethora of things that fall under the category of not taking accountability. Well, I mean, a lot of people say that they love themselves and they can't take accountability for their own
right.
actions.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's possible to love someone who doesn't take accountability. It's just the way that you deal with them would be different.
Yes, ma'am. For me, I'm a dive in on the sisters right now because, whew, I wouldn't say all, but I would say some. I would say some. We don't like taking accountability, especially when men who truly love us have pointed out certain patterns that we do, and they say in a loving way, "Babe, I think you could go about this differently," and we are quick to be like, "Well, I didn't do that."
Hmm.
What you mean? How could you pull that from me? Why are you pointing the fingers? I could say this easily about you because you saying this about me,
Hmm.
but what about you?
Hmm.
We have a hard time as women taking accountability. And it's hard because even if you have sisters that want to hold up a mirror and say, look, sis, I'm gonna need you to fix your person. Why you all on me? Why don't you take a look at yourself?
Hmm.
It's that right there where we're women, we as women don't like taking accountability. And I believe that we would have better relationships with our men, better relationships with our family, better relationships with our friends if we hold each other accountable. And if we're sitting in a circle and we're not holding each other accountable and we're allowing our friends to do what they want to do, that can look
Hmm.
bad on us. So,
Hmm.
can you all tell me some ways that you've held your sisters accountable? And can you tell me a situation where you've been in with either with your husband or your brother where you had to hold them accountable? Because we gonna get on the men and women tonight.
Hmm.
Mecca. Oh my God.
Um, I mean, I've had to write a couple sisters
Mm,
um pertaining to what they were posting and how they were portraying themselves, like on Facebook.
Mm.
And one encounter in particular, well, this is what happened. I made a post
Mm-hmm.
and I was talking about how our modesty is our protection. And
Mm.
this sister took it as if though it was a shot at her. And it's like, you weren't even a thought in my mind if I was
Mm.
trying to be passive aggressive. You were not a thought in my mind when I made that post.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a guilty conscience. So instead of going back and
Mm.
forth with her, I went into the inbox and we started going back and forth there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I'm not it's the truth. Like this is our teaching. How you can even get mad at me
Mm-hmm.
for just reiterating what the teachings is.
Right.
And so she goes on to say, well, if you can't control what goes in your mouth, then you can't say what anybody doing. Well, she's trying to be funny because I have a weight issue, right? But at the time, she didn't know that I was losing weight. She didn't know that I had just lost 20 pounds. Like I'm on a weight loss journey. I had kind of
Mm-hmm.
slowed down,
Come on.
but I was still on the journey. And instead of taking it personal, I said, you know what, you're right. And
Mm.
I continued to lose weight and I moved past it. But
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, it's like, I wasn't even talking to you. And you took it
Right.
so personal, right? And it, like you said, like it's so hard to hold us accountable,
Mm-hmm.
even when we know what's right. It's like
Mm-hmm.
this is right, but yet you still don't want. And I think it's that God complex where it's like
Right.
naturally we want to be right because our mind was
Mm-hmm.
created to think right. So we try to justify wrongdoing.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes, I mean, when it comes to a brother, I had to talk to a brother actually recently, um, because his post was shared and he was saying some old wild stuff
Mm.
on his live. And so, but the thing is that instead of me coming at him saying, "You not a Muslim," because he's damaged, and we had talked
Mm-hmm.
about it, I came at him in a certain way. And at least it seemed like it because the way that he received it, it seemed as if though it penetrated him. And so
Mm-hmm.
the way that we come with not checking but correction is
Mm-hmm.
highly important because that can also make somebody not want to take accountability because it may seem like you might be attacking them, right?
Right.
As opposed to trying to love them out of whatever it is that they're going through. But at the
Mm.
same time, it don't matter because if it's the
Right.
truth, it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So
Breathe. That was a lot. That was a
it
lot.
was a
That was
lot.
a lot. That was a lot. That was a lot.
It
But
was.
I love the way you handled yourself in both situations because you could have went off the deep end and said, you know what? You ain't got to, but you handled it in a mature way to the point where it didn't phase you. It didn't
Praise him
affect
to
you.
Allah.
And so and I wish that everybody could be like that because when people hold people accountable, they immediately go into attack mode. Like, I don't see that about myself.
Right,
And you can't tell me what to do.
right,
But but sis, I'm trying to help you out
right,
out of
right,
love,
right,
not out of malice. You know, that the minister talks about that. He said, I meet a man where he is. And
right.
so you stand on that and you be like, okay, this is how the minister handles us. So I'm gonna handle my people like this. So I love the way you handled that. Sister
Praise him to Allah.
Alexia.
You want me to go after that? No.
Come on.
Come on, sis.
So kind of to touch on a part of what Sister Mecca was saying
Mm-hmm.
is when you are trying to hold someone accountable, it rattles something within them to make them try to
Mm-hmm.
come against you. And it
Mm-hmm.
has nothing to do with you. It
Right.
has to do with the God that's within you. And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, I'm trying to think of a situation where I held someone accountable. So a sister I know, she's also on a weight journey. And she's like, let's wake up at this time and go to the gym and work out. And so I said, okay, reach out every day. Okay, what we doing? Oh no, not today. Excuses, right?
That's how it be.
Next day. All right, let's go. I'm ready. Gym membership done. Like, we're going. And
Mm-hmm.
oh, I can't because this came up now. You don't really want it
Right.
to the point
Right.
where now you're annoyed because I'm still coming to you about something that you
Mm.
said that you were going to do. So I'm holding you to your word,
Mm-hmm.
and you're mad at me because I'm holding you to your word. But if you're not sure about something, or if you're just saying something, don't expect people not to test you at
Mm-hmm.
your word, because that's what it's going to be. And so, as far as holding a man accountable, I don't know. I have to get on that. I'm not really around too many men. So,
Yes, ma'am. So
but
I will share my experience with my husband. And you know what? I did not beat him up because of this. There was, we, talk about investments a lot. And he made one particular investment. And I told him, it's not good to make that investment. It's kind of rocky. And he said, yes, ma'am. And he did it anyway. Now you know how women are.
Mhm.
We could tell when something is bad that
Mhm.
you can't invest in that because we already know it's going to cause some kind of issue. So when I told him it was a bad deal, he did it anyway, and he said it didn't turn out to be a great deal. I said, "Did you learn your lesson?" Yes, ma'am. I said, "There's nothing to talk about then."
Yeah.
Because it's like he already beat up about it. He already heard about it. So why would you like really add to that and be like, I didn't told Joe behind? Why would you add to that when he already feeling bad about it?
Right.
So when you're handling situations like that, you don't want to go in as I know it all or I told you or something like that. If he already learned his lesson, don't beat him up about it. He'll look back at that experience and be like, okay, Tamara was right. I'm not gonna do it because it happened to be bad. So when you're
Mhm.
dealing with somebody, you don't want to go in there like you a know-it-all. Hold that person accountable in a way to where they don't feel bad. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, hold on, time out. No getting puffed up in the chest. I'm doing this because I love you. This is out of love. So I said, did you learn your lesson? He said, yeah. And there was nothing else to talk about. That's how you handle that.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Praise be to Allah.
so since we're talking about, can you love somebody that doesn't want to take accountability? Do you think that marriages will last more if we held each other accountable? Because sometimes we let stuff slide and then you hold in this anger for years. And then when you get to your breaking point, well, you did this 3 years ago. You did this 2 years ago. So why? And I hate that, like, tackle the issue right then and there. So why do we as women and men hold on to stuff for like 2 to 3 years? But how come we can't hold the person that, accountable right then and there? We just got to hold on to it. And when you get into a spat or argument, you want to bring up stuff from 4 years ago that you could have tackled. Why do we do that? Why do we as men and women? I'm just talking to the sisters. I'm throwing men out there because they're listening to this podcast. Why do we as women do that? Why do we hold on to stuff? And then when our husbands or our men hold us accountable, we like, well, you did this yesterday. I didn't told you to take out the trash and you didn't. So why do we do that? Why? Why?
I, I, I think
Ma-
that
Go ahead, Alexa.
us as women, we're incubators, so we tend to hold on to things. I know me personally. I tend to hold on to things, but I think that's a part of not learning how to fully let go. And something that I've learned over the years listening to married couples is when you really get into a marriage, you learn more about yourself that you might not have known before. And so that person always reminding you of certain things or doing something to you that you may not have expected can trigger some things within you. If you have things that's going on with you prior to getting with another person, um, all of those things, kind of go
Mm-hmm.
together. And if you haven't fully healed as a single woman, you're going to bring all those issues into your
Right.
relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
so having that wholeness within yourself first instead of looking for it in a relationship or being triggered by something that you never actually dealt with on your own can also cause different things as well. And yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Sister Mecca, come
I
on
would
with that truth.
I would say that women specifically, because we know that what we say, we can hurt their feelings. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like part of the reason why sometimes we don't say certain things is because we know that it might hurt their feelings. And I know that that's kind of something that I struggle with. Um, just in general with people, because I don't like to hurt people's feelings,
Right.
because it hurts my feelings knowing that I hurt somebody else's feelings. And so I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to hold that guilt of hurting somebody else's feelings,
Mm-hmm.
especially if it's really not that serious. Because that's
Mm-hmm.
another issue, is that sometimes we take holding people accountable to a different caliber. It's like tattletaling.
Mm-hmm.
My 2 year old, my 3 year old, and my 6 year old are always telling on each other all throughout the day. And so you have some people who have no problem holding people accountable, but they nitpick,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when it becomes nagging. That's when it becomes, okay, are you serious? Like really? So I feel like if we would hold each other accountable more in marriages over serious things,
Mm-hmm.
that the marriages would last longer. But if we would let go of the petty stuff needs to be let go of,
Mm-hmm.
because we tend to hold each other accountable for petty stuff, but the big
Mm-hmm.
stuff we let slide.
Mm-hmm.
We need to reverse that.
So,
I feel like that would help marriages.
so if you all are just tuning in, we're talking about, can you love someone that doesn't take accountability well? And that comes in marriage, that comes in friends, that comes in sisterhood. Let's talk about holding friends accountable. Let's talk about how, whew, Alexia, I'm gonna let you go first, but how do you hold your friends accountable? They know you're living a Muslim lifestyle, but they want to pull you in and be like, girl, ain't nobody gonna see you eat that pork. Girl, you can go to the club, ain't nobody gonna see you there. Ain't nobody gonna. What you worried about? Anybody gonna come up in this? How do you hold your? I mean, because people, I feel like with our friends, they know we hold a certain standard as Muslim women, but they want to drag us into some unnecessary stuff to get us in trouble. Well, I remember you used to be like this. I remember I had to hold one of my friends accountable, be like, you know what? If you really love me, you will understand my standard of being a Muslim woman.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because you can't drag me into stuff that I used to do. You missed the
Right.
old Tamara. The new Tamara is not going to the club.
Right.
The new Tamara is not going to be sneaking and eating pork. I'm not there.
Right.
And so when you hold them accountable about doing stuff like that, they want to get mad and be like, we ain't got to be friends no more. Bye.
Right.
Hmm.
Bye. Because that means you don't respect me as a Muslim woman. You don't respect my standard.
Mhm.
You don't respect what I do as a wife and as a mother. You just used to the old Tamara. I'm telling you, I'm not there. So how do you all hold your friends accountable? What do you do?
Well, to kind of touch on what you said too, if you're not willing to respect my standard, then you're not necessarily my friend.
Right.
And there are all sorts of friends out there. There's some that's going to be there for a short period.
Mm-hmm.
There's some that's going to be there just for, certain seasons. And there's those that's going to be there for a lifetime, and just learning how to put people in the right categories and treating them
Mm-hmm.
where they are at. Because when we put too much on somebody that's not on that level, it's not going to work. So when it comes to holding them accountable, I make sure to let them know ahead of time. Listen, this is what I'll accept. This is what I won't accept.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't honor that, to communicate properly, this is what you did wrong. How can we fix this? How can we get past this? And if they're not willing to make adjustments, then you let me know that you're not respecting me and you're not respecting my position. And so we have to part ways. There's some times where some people, they're just, that's how they are. And, oh, I eat all this, but I don't even ask me
Mm-hmm.
about eating,
Right.
that I'm eating,
Right.
because that's the end of the conversation there. Like, don't be disrespectful with it. And so for me, I would just communicate what I want, my beliefs, what
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tolerate, what I'm not going to tolerate, and if they cross the line, for something to happen so that they know they crossed the line. Because a lot of times we don't hold our friends accountable because we don't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to what Sister Mecca was saying, in marriages, a lot of the big things we're not
Mm-hmm.
holding our spouses accountable for because we're not saying anything. And so I think one of the main things is proper communication.
Right. Sister Mecca.
I honestly don't have any friends. Um, I know that sounds funny, but I really don't. I don't have any friends. The only people that I talk to is my mom and my sister and my husband, and then y'all in the collective. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Well, I talk to Brother Hashim too, but I don't really have friends. Like I just go out and hang out with people. No, I don't.
You
And
have
so my
sister.
mother is a Muslim, so
Mm-hmm.
whenever if I need to hold my mother accountable, I
Mm-hmm.
just revert back to the teachings
Mm-hmm.
and using the Holy Quran. And my sister, she's not a Muslim, but um, she understands. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And her with her not being a Muslim, she still respects what we believe in. So I don't have to worry about her, trying to do something disrespectful or say some sly stuff because she wouldn't. But I mean, that's my sister. So, we hold each other accountable as well. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, yo, like you wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need to get your stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Yeah, so I don't really have friends.
Can we talk about this? Y'all probably gonna laugh, but this is something that was just inboxed to me. Men are not mind readers. How you gonna try to hold your man accountable for something that happened 3 weeks ago and you don't say nothing? They are not mind readers.
Facts.
You in the kitchen knocking around dishes. They not mind readers. They are not mind readers. Men are not mind readers. You walking around the house like he like, what's wrong with you? Nothing. And then when y'all discuss something, well, you did this last week and I didn't appreciate it. Why you not telling them? Like, why you not telling them you gonna bring up something that happened 3 weeks ago? I need us to do better as women when it comes to
Hmm.
that. Stop holding on to stuff for 3 weeks and you
Yeah,
expect him to read your mind when something go down and you ain't said nothing. Why are we doing that as women? Why do we do that? Well, sir, you didn't even take out the trash. I had to do it myself. You didn't ask. Well, sir, I'm
I shouldn't have to ask.
right.
You
That
should know.
all right. Men are not mind readers. Sir, I asked you to pick up my shoes the other day and you didn't do it. That's simple communication. But would you, when you are like stuck in like, what's wrong with you? Nothing.
Hmm.
Why are you acting like that? Leave me alone. I'm fine. What you doing? Nothing. God. And then 3 weeks later, well, I didn't appreciate. Ma'am, I need you to tackle that issue right then and there, not 3 weeks later, because men are not mind readers. You can't expect them to read your mind when you going through stuff, sis. Stop
Hmm.
doing that. How you gonna
Hmm.
hold your man accountable and you don't tell him? You tell him 3 weeks later. Well, I ain't like the way you did this. Have y'all ever been in that situation? I'm gonna be the first one to raise my hand because I'm holding myself accountable. I'm holding myself accountable. I did that twice, and that was the end of that. Like that was it. Tamara, you not telling me what you need that you. But have y'all ever been in a situation where y'all just like waited 3 weeks to tell your husband that this happened? Like, let's
it
talk about it, Mac.
it wasn't 3 weeks, but it was like a couple of days. But it's like I had to sit and I had to digest it because I have to find a way to bring it up. Or I pray to Allah and I ask Allah to please make him bring something up that could lead to
Mm-hmm.
us having this conversation, as
Mm.
opposed to me just bringing it up because I feel like it always makes it awkward. And I hate confrontation. I really do. I'm one of those people who hate confrontation, and I
Right.
hate being mad at each other. Um, but I think part of the problem is that because women study men so often and we pick up on subtleties of men, we're expecting that in return. And
Ooh.
so we're
Mm-hmm.
expecting him to realize when we're angry because a lot of the times I feel like sometimes men know. But they
Mm-hmm.
may not be certain, but they have an idea of what may be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Um and it's like it's just sometimes it seems like men don't put in enough time to actually study his woman and
Mm-hmm.
study what she needs because it's like you don't have to ask me for certain stuff. You know what I'm saying? I automatically know. I listen to you. You say, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I need this," or "I need to do this," or "I need to do that," and automatically I'm jumping on it, right? And so as a woman, you're kind of
Right.
expecting the same thing. So we shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
be expecting it. But at the same time, the minister talked about Allah understands subtleties. And as the man being the
Yeah.
first self, he needs to understand the subtleties of a woman because we're full of nuances. And
Mm-hmm.
he needs to understand that. And there are certain things that we just feel like we shouldn't have to communicate because you should know. It sounds crazy, but it's like if you really studied me, you would know.
Right. Come on. You better teach, Mecca.
It's
Yes.
just like, if you ask me, you want something? And I say, no, I don't want anything. But I really want something, so you get
Right.
it for me
Like,
anyway.
sir.
You know me. I said one thing, but like that.
Sir.
Yes. That.
Oh, we get on their nerves. Like, I asked you 4 times. You gonna wait till I eat my salad and take a bite?
But I know you knew I wanted it for. That's why you asked me 4 times.
Hmm.
Cause you know that I really did,
Great.
and you know I'm gonna say no. You already know I'm gonna say no.
And yeah, and I
Brothers gotta
think
understand that no means yes. So
Yes,
no means yes. So if you picking
that,
up a salad, bruh, I'm gonna need you to pick up a salad for me too.
exactly.
and I think that goes into knowing your spouse
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and having that relationship, because if you're just going through the motions, you're not really taking time to mind the woman out as the
Mm-hmm.
man, then you're just on the surface and you don't really know her.
Right.
Like, you're just around her. That's why a lot of people during COVID, when they were actually around each other, they couldn't stand each other
Right.
and ended up separating because,
Mm.
oh, you know what, you was always at work, I didn't have to deal with this. That's how you really,
Right.
I don't want you, you know.
Mm.
But I think it
Wow.
it goes back to really knowing the person and taking that time to build that relationship. Nothing's going to happen overnight, but like Sister Mecca said, those subtleties, you can read them,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
but that's if you're paying attention, you know.
Right.
And if you're not paying attention, then you're going to miss a lot of stuff.
Cause we really not as complicated as men be trying to make it seem like we are. We really not. They more complicated than we are because we actually tend to talk about our feelings and our emotions and
Yeah.
and what we're going through, while men always hide it.
But no, Mecca, the reason why they hide it is
It's because we
because
don't
they feel
accept it.
like they don't have an avenue
Hmm.
to let out how they really feel. They want
Yeah,
to, but they're not too trusting of the woman that they're with because they haven't filled her out
it's true.
to say, I want to speak to you about this. And there are some women, and I'm talking to the women that will hold on to that, and when they break up, they'll like to spill the beans about their life and what they went through. So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to take men some time,
Yeah,
yeah, especially when you're, with them, or if you're in, it's different in the Nation of Islam, but out in this world,
yeah,
you know, it's different. They're like, open up to me. Well, can I trust you with this?
Right.
that's
No.
true.
It's like, can I trust you with this? And then when he opens up, girl, do you know he was doing this, and all on social media, all to his
Yeah,
friends.
that is sad.
You
Mm-hmm.
got men committing suicide because women can't keep their mouth closed about certain things that happened to them when they were younger. If we're
Yep.
gonna open this
Mm,
up, let's open up Pandora's box, because that's real. I've seen,
yeah.
there was a brother that was on Twitter that shared his life story. That brother ended up committing suicide because people were sharing his business.
Mm.
So we have to be careful with that.
Yeah, that is true. There, or we'll use it as ammo
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
to try and put them down. So that is
Yeah,
true.
Yeah.
That is
yeah.
true.
That's
Because
why.
if it's done to us,
Mm-hmm.
then it's gonna be a whole fit. Like, why would you do that? But we got to look at ourselves as well.
Right.
But why would you do that to him?
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's why I think it's important for both the man and the woman to create a safe space for each other.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because a lot of things, I mean, I've dealt with that in my past where I've said things or shared things about myself just for it to be thrown in my face. And that made me not want to open up as much
Mm-hmm.
anymore. Because it's like, oh, well, if this is what you're going to do with what I give you, I'm not giving you,
Right.
and so just learning how to have that that space of safety. Like a man is
Mm-hmm.
supposed to provide that protection for his woman. And if she doesn't feel
Right.
safe enough to come to you and share different things about, okay, I'm bringing this up because this
Mm-hmm.
trying to hold you accountable, but it's like she's walking on eggshells, she's not going to share anything because she doesn't
Right.
feel safe enough to do that.
Right.
So, and then
Right.
same thing for vice versa. They have to
Mm-hmm.
feel safe enough to come to us with their emotions as well.
Yeah.
True.
Because men are emotional.
Very.
They really
Mm-hmm.
are very
Mm-hmm.
emotional,
Mm-hmm.
but they be trying to hide it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they can't really hide it. They have the XY chromosome. There's some emotion right there. It's really, you tapping into that. Like, you trying to hold in them tears, but I'm gonna need you to let that out. And that's why we need more men's circles to where they can talk about the issues that they're going through and things of
Yeah.
that nature. But we're going to tackle that on another topic on this podcast because I feel like that's important. But we tackled friendships, we tackled marriage. Let's talk about our children, because I feel like the more they see us holding ourselves accountable and in the household, they're not going to be too prone to go out in the world to do the things that we did.
Mm.
So for me, I always have these conversations with my daughters about how this world is, and some of the things I did that bumped my head and made me realize I can't travel down that road anymore. So I always have these conversations with them and be like, you know what, I did that and I don't want that for you. Now, mind you, I know they're gonna go out in this world and probably bump their head too, but I'm letting them know the things that I've done, it's not cool. And I don't want you to go down that path. So I always have these conversations about living right as a Muslim, doing what they're supposed to do, always keeping Allah the forefront of their lives and praying. And I'm always holding them accountable if I see them do something. I got a grown child in college. I still hold her accountable because I love her. Because that's
Hmm.
what mommies do.
Right.
So they hold me accountable. Like, Mom, you said we pray at what time? Shouldn't we get the prayer rugs out? Dang it, I did. I did. So they hold me accountable. Like, Mom, you need to put that down. We got to do prayer. Yes, ma'am. So it's so and me holding them accountable, they gonna hold me accountable, and that's good for me. So, do you all hold your children accountable? Your niece and nephew, in your case, Alexia, do you hold your children accountable?
Yes, my nieces and nephew definitely. Um, because especially when they come over, because my house is very structured. They can't just do what they want, and they know that. And if
Hmm.
they try it, they're gonna get checked. And even though they don't really like correction, they appreciate the discipline and the structure. So yes, and I do believe that children uh, follow what they see, not what you say. So they look at behavior as opposed
Hmm.
to just talking. Because if you're saying one thing and you're doing something else,
Mhm.
they're like, "Oh, well, you're doing it. I'm gonna do it too." You know.
Hmm.
So just being that example, knowing that we as women, when we're taught, we're we're being taught because we are. How's it? As a woman, when you teach a man, you teach a one person.
Individual.
Teach a
You
woman.
do. You teach your whole name.
Yes. And so being able to know that it comes from us and we have to be on our P's and Q's and we
Hmm.
have to be the example to share with our children so that it's not just, okay, you have to do this. We have to get up and pray. We have to eat this way. We have to do this and do that. How are you actually living? Because your life and how you live is actually
Come
what
on.
you see. So that is what I try to instill whenever I'm around my nieces and nephews, and what I instill when I have my own.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Sister Mecca.
Well, my children are still relatively young.
Hmm.
Um, my 3 year old, and then I have a 1 year old. And my 6 year old, he I do hold accountable. Um, but he also holds me accountable. So he has a wonderful, I mean, his memory is impeccable. And I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy how good his memory is. Um, man. But he'll remember something I said days ago. And he said, you know, you said you were going to do this.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what, you're right. I did say that. So let me go ahead and do it. Or he'll tell me if I'm wrong or if he doesn't like the way that I did something. Um, in certain instances, it's like, oh well, because you're a child and you need to stay in a child's place. But in another instance, it is you're also a human being and you deserve to voice your opinion as well. And if you feel like I mishandled something, you have a right to that. But there are certain things that you have to understand there is no other way about it. You either do it or this is what's going to be the consequences of it.
Right.
Um, but you know, he definitely does hold me accountable um for the things that I do. So I do appreciate that. He is definitely a mirror. He's a mirror for me of how I act with Allah.
Right.
And it's just when you look at it like that, it's like you think you getting away with something. You know what I'm saying? I see the crumbs on your face and you're gonna tell me that you did eat the cookie. But I see the crumbs on your face. I see the frosting on your fingers. And you're gonna tell me you
Right.
didn't eat the cookie. That's how we look to Allah, saying I didn't do
Right.
X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I see it all on you.
Right.
So he holds me accountable in different ways, not just with me and him, but my relationship with Allah. And he shows me how childish I am in his eyes. So,
Sis, I would say it's like that with Rakeem, my son. Excuse me if I'm not on camera, I'm dealing with him right now.
yes, ma'am.
But Rakeem, I swear, okay, this is how Rakeem holds me accountable, right? Uh, this is how Rakeem holds me accountable. So Rakeem knows, I mean, because you all know my son has autism, so we have sensory boards for him as well. So, and he does this with all of us in the house. Um, it's like, okay, I'm gonna get you a snack, but you know, as parents, we tend to break off a little piece of what he's eating.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna give you this snack, the whole bag. This is how he holds me accountable, right? I took one chip out of his bag, and he gonna look at me and grab the chip and put it back in his bag. That's
Said think again.
like, Mom, you said you was gonna give me the full bag, and
Dang.
you took a. That's not the full bag.
Oh my gosh. You can't even have one.
I
Right.
can't have one. I'm like, yes, sir. You can have the full bag, but it's but it's in that he held me accountable because I took one chip, and he gonna take it back and be like, okay, that's a full bag. Give me my chip back.
Right.
So that let me know, like, Mom, you said give me a full bag. I want my full bag, and you can't have one. So so that's how Rakeem holds me accountable. Like, you can't be up here eating my chips and my fruit snacks. You said you're gonna give me the full bag, and you then took one.
Go
That's
get
not
your
a
own
full
bag.
bag. Get your own bag.
Bag.
Why you all in mine? And then
Right.
proceeded to smile and then walk away. I said, okay, sir. Yeah. Yep.
Mm, mm,
So,
mm, mm.
and don't go in his juicy juice. He be, give me my juice box. But that's how my son, and I respect it because he's holding me accountable with that. Like, Mom, get your own bag of chips. That's mine. I want the full bag. You gonna take
Right.
one about my bag?
Right.
Stop
It's
it.
it's the
Why
principle.
you doing that? That's personal. Those are my chips.
Right.
So, but that's, I mean, accountability. I mean, and then we're gonna close out. Accountability has to happen in our everyday life. And if it doesn't, then we're going to continue to do the same things that we do.
Hmm.
That's why we have a self-accusing spirit, because I know a lot knows that we about to mess up. And listening to our self-accusing spirit lets us know that you about to do something terrible. I said don't do that. And then the consequences come, and then you be like, dang, I should have listened to my self-accusing spirit. Our self-accusing spirit holds us accountable. So if you listen to that little God, well, I'd say little God, but big God inside of you, that's a lot telling you that you about to get into something that you're not supposed to get into.
Right.
But like big children, we ignore it, and we wondering why we in jail.
Right.
Why we lost our job.
Mm-hmm.
People after us.
Right.
Because you're not listening to the self-accusing spirit that's within you. Why that woman left you. Why your
Mm.
children don't respect you. See,
Yeah.
we have to listen to that self-accusing spirit. That keeps us out of trouble. But we know we want to be devils and be like, I ain't listening to a lie today. I need to get that money.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if the Quran says, don't be fearful. Don't fear that, because I'm always going to provide for you.
Right.
And I think people forget
Mm-hmm.
that Allah says that, and we bypass that and be like, I need to get this money quick. But we find ourselves in trouble when we go ahead of Allah. So always listen to your self-accusing spirit and don't run away from that.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my closing out remarks. I'm gonna go to Mecca.
Oh, well, just to horseback off what you said, the minister said, "Will you?" How did he word it? He said, "Would you kill the messenger of Allah?"
Ooh, come on.
And he said that we do it every single day. That we quiet that self-accusing spirit
Yes.
because that is the messenger of Allah,
Mm-hmm.
and we kill it every single day, every
Yeah.
single day.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't even realize it that we're doing it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
When we press snooze, when we decide, I'll make it up when I get home,
Right.
knowing that you're not going to, you
Right.
know, or you do pick up those bag of gummies that you know got red 40 in them, but
in your
because you just want some gummy bears so bad, you like, I know it's wrong, but can't you just overlook it this one time?
right.
Um, but the more that we do it, it's small, but the more that we do it, the more that we kill that messenger and the more primitive we become.
Right.
So when we don't take accountability for our own actions, that actually is killing the messenger of Allah. And so
Mm,
you have a lot of animals walking around basically because we do without thinking.
Mm-hmm.
We don't think about anything that we do. We just react. We're reactive.
Mm-hmm.
And so taking accountability is the first part of apologizing to Allah. It's
mm,
like you have to go through that atonement. That's part of atonement. You have to take
Absolutely.
accountability for your actions,
Mm-hmm.
like Brother Cam was talking about yesterday. Um, so yeah, yes, ma'am. That's my closing.
Yes. And shout out to the collective, that's listening in. Shout out to my family from Twitter and Facebook. Thank you for chiming in and listening to this powerful topic on accountability. I hope and pray to Allah that you got something from myself, Mecca, and Sister Alexia from this powerful topic because we have to look at ourselves and hold ourselves accountable. So you got the floor, Sister Alexia.
yes, ma'am. So I'll say whatever you feed will grow.
Ooh, come on.
You are constantly feeding your flesh, that is what's going to grow.
Mm-mm-mm.
Mm,
Constantly feeding your spirit, that's what's going to grow. So a lot of times when people say this is just how I am, it
ooh,
the mindset that you have given up, that you're not going to try, and it makes it to where you don't have to do any work.
Yeah.
Life
mm,
is about work. And so if you're not willing to work on your relationship with Allah and to work on learning who you are in him and
mm,
work on being in real and authentic and healthy relationships with friends, family, spouses, then you're not holding yourself accountable because Allah holds us accountable. And if we're
Yeah.
unwilling to hold ourselves to his standard, then we're doing a disservice to ourselves and everyone else around us. And so it's our duty to feed the spirit with life giving fruit, teaching,
yes,
water, the
come
word,
on.
all of that, so that we can be more of a blessing and not a cancer, spreading
Yes, ma'am.
disease.
Absolutely.
So be mindful of what you eat mentally, emotionally, spiritually, because it spreads to everyone around you.
Oh Lord, that's yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So, with that being said, as my son walks around here, you know, top supporter of the Feminine Woman podcast. But I will say this: it's again, I share my sister's sentiments of holding ourselves accountable in your everyday life, in your travels to your work, your job, you know, your children's school. Think 5 times before you cuss that other parent out because they didn't stepped on your toe. I mean, is it that serious? I mean, like, ma'am, you stepped on my toe. You ain't got to be cussing. And then you be thinking, like, dang, did I really have to cuss her out like that? Or could I have just pulled her to the side and said, ma'am, you stepped on my toe. I know it wasn't intentional. I know you was rushing your child to school. But some of us, we take it to the extreme. These are some $500 Jordans. And you stepping on my ma'am. Like, and then you just like allow you to think and be like, man, you didn't have to cuss that sister out like so.
But you want to
Man,
know something? You want to know something?
yes, ma'am.
Deceptive intelligence is telling
Woo!
me
Come on.
that sometimes a lie uses you to chastise somebody else.
Right.
So we may think it's going overboard, but how do we not know that that person deserved it?
Mm, that's true. That could be deep thinking like, deeply. I be trying to think on like the surface level. She'll dive deep within that. It's an everyday thing in the collective, y'all. We having deep conversations with Mecca.
Yeah.
with everybody.
but think about it. It's like you hold your children accountable. How come you're not willing to look in the mirror and hold yourself accountable? Every time your child does something, like, you shouldn't do that. That same energy could be spent on you.
Yeah.
Like, dang, I shouldn't have ate that bowl of cereal, knowing that that was the last box of cereal, and that was my child's box of cereal. You know how we
Yeah.
do as adults. Dang, I bought that cereal for my child. I sure ate
I sure do be doing that too.
it. So ate
Like,
it. I'm about to go to
oh,
the store real quick to go get it because she's about to be mad.
Oh
Like,
my
Ma, you
God.
ate my cereal? See, what had happened was there was no excuse for me to do that. There was no excuse. So what I'm gonna do is run to the store and get you another box, cause I'm sorry.
that.
but
It's hard out here.
the next topic on the Feminine Woman podcast is divine feminine energy versus dark feminine energy.
Mm,
Mm,
I think we need to talk about that
mm-hmm.
because there's a difference between the two.
Huge difference.
yes.
And what I'm seeing on Twitter and social media and the definition of dark feminine energy, it's not good. It's like you going up against Allah. It's like Satan and Allah battling. I'm gonna stay over here. I'm staying in the light. Nope, I like being in the dark. But don't you know when you're in the dark, there's a spark of light? So I don't even understand why y'all try to. I don't even understand why y'all trying to have dark feminine energy, but there's a spark of light in the dark. Come,
Mm-hmm.
I need to tackle. We need to tackle that topic. So I thank you all for joining. I love you all. Thank you all for your support of the Feminine Woman podcast. So we'll see you all next week, Friday. Um, the Feminine Woman podcast will be going live at Savior's Day. We gonna try because with all the activities we got going on,
Mm-hmm.
we gonna try. So next week, uh, divine feminine energy versus dark feminine energy. So tune in next week. All right. I love you all. Take care. May Allah continue to bless you all and keep you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.